So we are going to study about the fungi, the general account. We are continuing with the second chapter, the biological classification. In this chapter, in this part, we will read about the general characteristics of fungi, in which we will read about its occurrence, its habitats, its habits, its mode of nutrition, the plant body, and the types of reproduction. And also we will read about the major groups of fungi. Talking about the branch of biology which deals with the study of fungi is called mycology. So this general characteristics of fungi is that it is an eukaryotic organism. It has a cell wall which is either made up of chitin or cellulose. Both of them are polysaccharides. It lacks chlorophyll, hence it is having heterotrophic mode of nutrition. It has a filamentous body, and this filamentous body may be divided into compartments. Then it is called septate. If it is not divided into compartments, it is called non-septate. And that filamentous body, long, slender, thin, is called hypha. It is a non-motile type of, it cannot move. Then its reserve material is in the form of glycogen, and it can reproduce sexually, asexually, and vegetatively. Talking about the structure, this is a hypha that I was talking about, the slender body. This is a hypha which is found. So the pointers here, this one is a hypha, this root-like structures, and this cup-like structure you can see, this is the part which is the reproducing body or which helps in reproduction. These type of bodies are produced only when the hypha has to undergo reproduction. At that time, these perpendicular vertical bodies are born on the body. Then occurrence and habitat. It is a very large kingdom, and it contains 50,000 to 1 lakh known species. It is a ubiquitous, that is found everywhere, and they are terrestrial. Some are aquatic. Many of them grow on the foodstuffs. They grow on dark and dim light. Then they digest food externally by secreting hydrolytic enzymes onto the food making. We know that they are saprophytic or they are parasitic. So what happens? They do not have any digestive system inside. Instead, they secrete the digestive enzymes that go into the body of the substrate, and then they make the food, they make the substrate soluble, and the enzymes digest the substrate outside, and then that digested part is soluble part is sucked in, or you can say absorbed by the fungi. So according to it, they can be saprophytic or parasitic. Parasitic live on the living forms, and saprophytic live on the dead organic matter. Then plant body is a hypha. Majority of them is unicellular or multicellular, and the body is a thallus. That is, the body is not divided into root, stem or leaves. It is microscopic, and the thread-like structures of filaments are found in all directions. These thread-like structures are called the hypha. These hypha are transparent and tubulars. Then these hypha are actually, if they have a septa, or that means if they have compartments in their cells, you can see here the compartments are found, and each compartment has one nucleus. Then it is called a septate hypha. If it has no compartment and the hypha is continuous protoplasm, then it has many nucleus inside it, many nuclei, and it is called non-septate or cenocytic hypha. C-O-E-N-O, cenocytic hypha. Then mycelium. The mycelium is a group of hypha. So the cluster of hypha is called mycelium. Then talking about the cell structure. The cell structure, it is a eukaryotic cell. It has a cell wall. It is either made up of chitin or it is made up of cellulose, and rest of the body structures are it has all type of organelles and cell inclusions. So it's a complete cell. It has a complete cell. Then plus plectenchyma. Plectenchyma is that during the certain stages in the life of the forms, the mycelium is organized into loosely and compactly woven tissue. That means the mycelium grows and grows and it becomes compact tissue. That is called plectenchyma. This is of two types, prosenchyma and pseudoparenchyma. The prosenchyma is the one in which the mycelium is arranged parallel. And in pseudoparenchyma, they are so much well packed and interwoven that they cannot be loose, and they appear as isodiametric cells when they are transverse section is done. So you can see here parallel ones are the prosenchyma, and when we cut that root-like structure, we can see so many parenchyma, or we can see so many mycelium. These rounded structures are the mycelium. These rounded are the mycelium. So this is a compact structure formed. Then when this plankton helps to overcome the adverse conditions, what happens? The outer covering of the plankton becomes hard and it either forms a stroma or sclerotium. When this survive in the unfavorable condition, these type of structures, and when the favorable conditions come back, that time they grow into new mycelium. So talking about the hypha, you can see how they have trapped the ascaris. Ascaris are the roundworms. Sorry, they are the roundworms found inside the body of human. Then reproduction is either vegetative, asexual, or sexual. The vegetative reproduction, then sometimes it happens that during reproduction the entire thallus is converted into a reproductive body, or you can see that only portion of the thallus is converted into a reproductive body. According to it, that thallus is as holocarpic or eucarpic. Then the vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation, fission, or budding. We know very well fragmentation, the body breaks up into fragments. In fission, the body breaks into two parts. In budding, a bud is formed in the main outgrowth as an outgrowth. So fragments, the mycelium or the hypha undergoes fragments. The mycelium, the one part of the mycelium that is going to reproduce will undergo fission and or budding as in yeast. Then come to asexual reproduction. It occurs by means of spores. So these spores are either sporangiophores, chlamydospores, oospores, conidia, etc. So these occurs under favorable condition. Asexual reproduction occurs in favorable condition, and there's a dispersal of spores occurs through wind and water. Now talking about the sporangiospores, they are produced in special sac-like structures, and they are also, these sac-like structures are called sporangia. These sporangia are two types: zoospores and aplanospores. So sporangiospores are two types. Zoospores have flagella in them and they are motile, whereas aplanospores, they do not have flagella, they are dispersed by wind. So you can find it bread mold here, and these zoospores we can find in molds. We will see about them later. Then conidia are actually, they are also non-motile spores, and they are formed on the reproductive body, at the tip of the reproductive body. They do not have a covering on them, and these cells which bear the conidia, they are called conidiogenous cells. This the conidia is sometimes the whole cell turns into group of conidia. It is called blastic conidia. So coming to next, chlamydospores. In the genera Eustylago, the whole hypha develops thick-walled rounded, directly converts into rounded spores. These are called chlamydospores, and depending upon this, chlamydospores can be intercalary or terminal or lateral. Another is oospora, or you can say oidea. This what happens, the whole hypha divides into small fragments, into small segments. These and forms rounded bodies called odia or oosporia. Then this is a general structure, a general life cycle of reproduction. In asexual reproduction, what happens? The spores will germinate and they will form mycelium. Then this mycelium will form again spore producing structures. Or else it is that the spores will germinate to form mycelium. Mycelium will undergo plasmogamy. That means plasmogamy means there are three stages in the sexual reproduction. First is plasmogamy occurs. That means the cytoplasm fuses. Then the karyogamy occurs. That is when two nuclei fuse, and then a diploid stage is formed. When two nuclei will be formed, then N plus N forms a diploid stage. This will undergo meiosis. That is the 2N will become again N. And this N stage will produce, when it will undergo meiosis, at that time so many small spores are produced by meiosis, either 4 or 8, and these spores are then germinated into new hypha. We will talk about the major groups of the fungi: Basidiomycota, Zygomycota, Chytridiomycota, Ascomycota, and Deuteromycota. Lichens and mycorrhiza, we will read about them, that they undergo symbiosis because they contain some amount of fungi also. Then first of all, Ascomycota. These are also called sac fungi. They are called so because during their sexual reproduction, their spores they are formed, and ascospores are formed, which are also the conidiospores, which I explained you before, and they are born in sac-like cells called the ascus. So this they reproduce sexually also, asexually also. Then the fruiting body is known as ascocarp or asci. So it happens that when it undergoes meiosis, at that time the 8 conidia are formed, and these 8 conidia are n number containing haploid number of cells, and this will divide. Out of this, half of them will form the plus strain of hypha, and the other half will form the minus strain hypha. This may undergo again sexual reproduction, where the plus strain and minus strain will join to form the and they will form the new type of zoospores. Okay, so this ascospore is a spore which contains an ascus, or that was produced inside an ascus. This kind of spore is specific to fungi, which is classified as ascomycetes. So then coming to the what type of examples are there: cup fungi, morels, truffles, yeast, and mildews. So these are the examples. These are the morels, then these are the truffles, then this is the yeast, and this is a mildew. They are very useful. They are used as antibiotic, as flavoring agents, and food in yeast, like yeast. Then coming to Chytriomycetes, they are also known as Chytridis. They are described as structures. They contain zoospores. So they are the primitive type of fungi which have these zoospores contain flagella. We will talk about this. You can see here that zoospore has a posterior flagella here. So the asexual reproduction are by zoospores, and the zoospores have one posterior flagella, which coming to Oomycetes, these are also called water molds. During the sexual reproduction, they form cluster of eggs-like bodies at the tip of the hypha, and these spores are called the oospores. So then this difference with other fungi, that they contain cellulose in the cell walls, and diploid cells are formed after reproduction. Okay. Then talking about Basidiomycota, which are also known as the club fungi, or you can say the mushrooms, which we are seeing. So they are the one of the largest phyla, and they literally means pedestal. Okay, little pedestals. The basidium supports the spores. So as I told you, this is the mushroom, and it has a tip called the cap. You can see here. This is the cap, and below these caps are gills. These gills are actually the places where the basidiums are formed, basidiospores are formed. These are the basidia which contain the basidiospores. This is the annular ring and the volva which attaches to the substratum. So asexual and sexual reproduction both is seen in them. The mushroom is a fruiting body. This is a basidiocarp. That cap is a basidiocarp which has a stalk and flattened, and it has gills. These gills are called basidia. Then basidiospores, or the spores, are found inside this basidia only. Then these are the examples. Then coming to these rust and smut are also examples. Here it is that when they grow full, at that time now it is a time for them to produce spores, and once that black spores are produced, they will start decaying and the spores will be disseminated in the air. So Zygomycota, the next one, it is also called molds. Hypha does not have septum here, and that means continuous hypha. Okay, that is a sinusitic hypha. So bread molds are the example. Then they grow on decaying plants and animals. They are mostly terrestrial. You can see here blights, and you can see the type of reproduction, both sexual and asexual type of reproduction. A sporangium is born on the sporangiophore. This is a sporangiophore, and on this sporangiophore, this sporangia are born, and this sporangia contain spores or sporangiophore spores. Okay, and these are the rhizoids, which are the hypha are in the form of rhizoids. They are connected with the stolon. This stolon is also known as runner. Sexual reproduction occurs by means of zygospores. That means two spores will join. The two hypha will join, and the plus and minus strain hypha will join to form a zygospore. So this zygospore will then mature. Here you can see the two hypha come in contact, and then a new spore is formed. This is the zygospore, which germinates into new. Then Deuteromycetes, which are also known as the fungi imperfecti, because they lack a sexual cycle. They are all found to reproduce asexually. There is no such example which we have known that it undergoes sexual reproduction, so that is why it is named as fungi imperfecti. Then come to this mycorrhiza or glomeromycota. They need a plant body or plant root for support. They undergo symbiosis with the plant. What happens? There is a symbiotic relation between the fungus and the plant, and the roots of the plant, but the plant supply a source of energy to the fungus, and the fungus supply minerals to the plant. So these are also called gigaspores. They produce gigaspores. They cannot live without. So this is a mycorrhiza, and the end of my. So do it. Thank you.